That summer evening had felt ordinary, the kind of evening when the world seems calm enough to fool you into believing that peace lasts forever. The sky was a soft orange, dinner was on the table, and laughter echoed faintly from the neighbor's yard. But inside the small white house at the end of Maple Street, a silence had started to grow, the kind that doesn't come from comfort but from two hearts quietly drifting apart. Ethan and Claire had once been the couple people pointed to and said, "That's love." They had met in college. She was the painter who could make colors talk, and he was the engineer who believed everything had a formula, even love. They were opposites who balanced each other perfectly. But somewhere between bills, deadlines, and sleepless nights with their daughter Lily, something changed. Love didn't disappear, it just got quieter, buried under the noise of responsibility. To the outside world, they still looked fine. They went to family picnics, attended school meetings, smiled for photos. But behind closed doors, they spoke less. Their smiles became polite. Sometimes they passed each other in the hallway like strangers, each lost in their own thoughts, pretending not to notice the distance. Lily was 8, curious, bright, and far too observant. She didn't understand what distance meant, but she could feel it. She could feel it when her father's goodnight kiss landed a little too quickly, when her mother stared out the window too long, when the house felt colder even though the heater was on. One night, she woke up to the sound of voices. They weren't shouting, not yet, but they were sharp enough to sting. "I can't keep pretending, Ethan," Claire's voice trembled. "We're not us anymore. You think I don't know that?" Ethan's tone cracked between anger and heartbreak. "But what do you want me to do? Walk away? Leave Lily?" Claire's silence said everything. She didn't want to break the family apart, but she also couldn't keep living as a ghost in her own home. The argument ended in quiet tears. Lily hid under her blanket, clutching her teddy bear. She didn't understand the words, but she felt the pain in them. And that night, for the first time, she whispered to herself, "Maybe it's my fault." Weeks passed. Claire started spending more time in her art studio. Ethan began working late. Dinner became quieter, the air thicker. Lily tried harder. She drew pictures for them, wrote, "I love you," notes, and placed them on their pillows. Sometimes her mother smiled weakly. Sometimes her father just sighed. And sometimes, neither said a word. One Saturday morning, Claire told Ethan she wanted to stay at her sister's house for a while, just to clear my head. Ethan nodded, though every part of him wanted to beg her not to go. But pride and pain have a way of silencing love. When Claire left, Lily watched from the window as her mother's car disappeared down the road. Her little heart didn't understand temporary. To her, leaving meant forever. Days turned into weeks. Ethan tried his best to keep things normal: breakfast pancakes, bedtime stories, jokes that didn't always land. But Lily could tell he was trying too hard. Sometimes she would catch him staring at his phone, waiting for a message that didn't come. Then one rainy evening, while Ethan was washing dishes, Lily stood quietly in the doorway. Her small voice broke the silence. "Daddy." He turned, smiling faintly. "Yeah, sweetheart. Is it my fault?" she asked. The plate slipped from his hand and shattered in the sink. He froze. "What?" "Mommy left because I wasn't good." Her eyes were wide, trembling. "I tried to be good. I really did." Ethan's heart broke clean in two. He knelt down, pulling her into his arms, holding her so tight. It hurt. "No, baby. No. It's not your fault. Not even a little bit." "Then why did she go?" Lily whispered. He didn't have an easy answer. How do you explain adult heartbreak to a child who still believes love is supposed to last forever? So he said the only truth he knew. "Sometimes, grown-ups get lost. But it's not because of you. You are the best thing that ever happened to us." That night, Ethan sat awake long after Lily fell asleep. He looked around the quiet house and realized how empty it had become without Claire's laughter, her humming, her presence. He thought about the way they used to dance in the kitchen, barefoot and careless, and how easily they'd stopped. Love hadn't failed them, silence had. Pride had. The refusal to say, "I miss you," when it mattered. The next morning, Ethan drove Lily to school and, instead of heading to work, he drove to Claire's sister's house. She opened the door, surprised, her eyes tired but soft. "We need to talk," he said. Inside, they sat at the same kitchen table where they'd shared 1,000 breakfasts once upon a time. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said quietly, Lily thinks it's her fault. Claire's face crumbled. She covered her mouth, tears spilling instantly. Oh God. No. She asked me last night, he said. And I realized something. We broke us, Claire, not her, not anyone else. Just us. We stopped talking. We stopped trying. And she's paying for it. Claire nodded, sobbing silently. I never wanted this. I just didn't know how to fix it anymore. Then let's learn, Ethan said. Not for us. For her. They didn't hug right away. They didn't promise forever. They just sat there, two broken people willing to try again. And sometimes, that's enough to start healing. That evening, when Lily came home, she saw her mother's car in the driveway. She froze, her backpack slipping off her shoulder. Claire opened the door and knelt down, arms open wide. Mommy, Lily whispered. Claire pulled her close. Oh, my baby. I'm so sorry. I missed you so much. Are you staying? Claire looked up at Ethan, who stood behind her. He nodded slightly. For now, Claire said softly, and for as long as we can keep trying. That night, for the first time in months, laughter returned to the house. It wasn't perfect, dinner was still quiet at moments, and pain still lingered between glances, but there was hope. Over the next few weeks, Claire and Ethan started seeing a counselor. They learned to listen again, to forgive, to speak their fears instead of hiding them. And little by little, the walls between them began to crumble. Lily noticed. She noticed the way her parents' hands brushed when they passed each other the salt, how they smiled when their eyes met. She noticed her mother painting again, her father whistling again. She noticed the light coming back into the house. One night, as they all sat on the couch watching an old cartoon, Lily looked up and said, I'm glad you both found each other again. Ethan and Claire exchanged a quiet glance. There were still scars, still things to rebuild, but in that moment, they realized something profound. Love isn't about perfection. It's about coming back, even when it hurts, even when you've lost your way. Years later, when Lily grew older, she would remember that night, not as the night her parents almost broke apart, but as the night they chose to start again. She would remember her father's trembling voice saying, it's not your fault, and understand what love really means, not never falling apart, but always finding a way to heal together. And though life would continue to test them, through job losses, misunderstandings, and time, Claire and Ethan learned to hold on to the simple truth that had saved them once. Silence breaks love, but words rebuild it. Sometimes they still fought, sometimes they still cried. But now, they also apologized, they reached out, they talked. And every night, before going to bed, Ethan made sure to whisper to Lily, you are our reason. Because in the end, it wasn't the fights that defined their story, it was the moment their daughter's innocent question became their awakening. No one outside their walls ever knew the full story of what had happened between them. People still wondered why they had suddenly grown distant, why they suddenly seemed closer again. But those who saw them walking hand in hand years later could feel that something had changed, not perfection, but peace. And somewhere deep inside, Claire and Ethan carried the memory of that tiny voice on that rainy night asking, is it my fault? It wasn't. It never was. It was the question that saved them, because it reminded them that love, no matter how lost, is always worth finding again.